Cuyahoga County Council Community Development and Housing Committee meeting is now called to order. Sharon, would you please call the roll?
As a reminder to all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll, Mr. Hauser. Mr. Hauser is absent. Mr. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Kelly.
Here.
Mr. Schlepper.
Here.
Ms. Simon. Ms. Simon is absent at the moment. You have a quorum. And let the record reflect that Council President Miller is also in attendance.
All right, thank you. Sharon, has anyone signed in for public comment?
No, Mr. Vice Chair, no one has signed in.
All right, at this time, we will entertain a motion to approve our minutes from our June 2nd, 2025 meeting.
So moved. Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, well, we have several items that have been referred to this committee today. Sharon, won't you take a moment and read our very first item into the record?
Resolution 2025-0232, awarding a total sum not to exceed $25,000 to Community Housing Solutions for the home repair program from the District 11 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
All right, and who will speak to this matter?
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Pam Schulerman. I am the Executive Director of Community Housing Solutions, and I want to thank Councilwoman Simon for giving us the opportunity to be here today to talk about our program and our home repair program specifically. I also today would like to, over my right shoulder, Mike Grimes is our home repair director. So when I'm done with my presentation, if there's anything specific, I'm not, he's more suitable to talk about the actual construction stuff if you guys have any questions about that. So Community Housing Solutions has been around for 53 years, I'm proud to say. We serve Cuyahoga County. Our mission is to provide assistance to low-income marginalized residents by obtaining and maintaining safe, stable, and affordable housing. Oops. So before we talk about the specific $25,000 for home repair, I wanted to share a little bit about what CHS does in the community in addition to home repairs. We offer housing counseling for residents that are facing foreclosure issues. We actually work a lot with the county tax department and Treasurer Crome's office. The average person that we work with for counseling is 58 years old and has an average income of about $26,000. We usually see over 700 residents come through our doors, and you know it's tough because we want people to maintain their home so they have a house and it remains an asset in the community. We also have our tool loan library, and we have about 834 tools were loaned in 2024, and we are busy, especially now. Since the inception of the tool loan, we have loaned out 5,600 tools since we've had the library. We have one on the east side of Cleveland and one on the west side, and anybody in the county is able to come and borrow a tool. And a fun fact, the leaf blower is the most borrowed tool that we have, but we have everything you can imagine: lawnmowers, ladders, drain snakes. And here's our home repair program, which is the reason we're here today. And in 2024, we worked on 519 homes in Cuyahoga County, and that's really a remarkable number. We are a machine and have such a great staff that really we have 4 home inspectors, and it's a lot of homes that we're touching and a lot of repairs. Last year, we worked on 194 roofs, and probably even a little bit more than that. But our average homeowner is 86% are over the age of 60, and their average income is $19,000. A lot of times, they're older adults that are living on fixed incomes and, you know, have to choose between medicine or food and that home repair. And delayed maintenance often results in difficult issues when it comes to a home repair. And here's just some of our work before and after, roofs. It's tough because when we go into a house, we want them to be safe and dry. And if we walk into a house and there's an active leak, we have to address the roof first. So roofs are expensive, but they're, as I mentioned earlier, that's one of our biggest repairs and needs in the county. It's a great illustration of the before and after here. We also do a lot of modifications. We feel very strongly about, we may fix Pam's roof, but if she falls and breaks her hip in 4 weeks, then that was all for naught. One of our programs includes an occupational therapist that works with our home repair staff. So the OT, our staff, and the resident talk about their needs in the house. We really want to fit the home to their everyday, activities. So we may, instead of putting a grab bar, in addition to putting a grab bar in the shower, we maybe put it next to the bed. We maybe put it next to the toilet. And, keeping that person safe in the house is really important to CHS. So for this program, again, Councilwoman Simon, thank you this is the second year that she's allocated funding for her district. And last year we had 34 applications from Richmond Heights, and this year we are at 24 already. We want to make sure that the person qualifies, so we do require a lot of paperwork for the resident, but we are there to help them get that submitted. We really want to make sure that the homeowner has a safe and healthy house to live in, and that they can remain in their home, and that home remains an asset in the community. One issue that does pop up for us is oftentimes homeowners are late on their property taxes. So when that happens, we refer them to our counseling office, and we work with them to get on a payment plan. But we really want to make sure people are able to stay in their home. And I serve on the Cuyahoga County, Livable Cuyahoga County Committee, and we all know that 97% of homeowners want to stay in their home and age in place. So CHS is a great tool to make that happen. And here is our staff at our holiday party. We have, again, an East Side office that really focuses on our housing counseling work. We'll talk to you on the phone, go to your home if you need to. And then the west side is the home repair side. We have a great staff that really cares about who we serve. So thank you. Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Schulerman. Any questions from the committee?
I had a couple questions, actually. First of all, thank you for being here. This is an incredible program.
Excuse me, Mr. Schlepper, can you check your microphone, please?
Thank you. Sorry about that. This is an incredible program, and I think that, what you're doing is really transformative for people's lives. I would say the outreach that I've gotten in the last 6 months, this is the highest number of calls that I get is this type of concern. I'm a senior, I'm aging in place, I have roof issues, I've got, mobility issues, whatever it might look like. What is the best way for us on council to connect with your team and just make sure that we're making those connections to those residents and making sure that they have access? Because, as you mentioned, the paperwork can be cumbersome, and more than us just making a simple referral, how do we know that we, kind of make that connection and that they've either been served or, given to an organization that can serve them?
So you can always, call me, or we get a lot of phone calls from council folks. When people do, for your residents, being current on property taxes, what's beautiful about this allocation is that we have other funders that want match or they want to see other engagement from other funders, so we're able to layer. So we might go into a house that needs a $15,000 repair, and we're able to take, 3 to 5 from these funds, and we have a full, impactful repair. So the taxes are important, and to make sure that they're low, they register as low income. And that changes every year. We work on 50% AMI, usually all the way up to 80. So we find that most of our homeowners qualify. Yeah.
And then just my second question was, what would you say your highest need is as an organization, and perhaps ways that the county could support you with those needs?
I mean, funding, I mean, we always, you know, in today's environment, it's always, when you get grants from whether it be, you know, council folks or federal government or state government, you take a breath for a minute and then you're on to the next request for proposal. And, you know, and there are other providers in this area, but I'm so proud, you know, somebody said to me recently, nobody does it like CHS. And, you know, again, we have an incredible staff. We have contractors that love us because we try to pay them quickly, and, you know, we get it done. So I think funding's important, and I think that's really our biggest critical need. You know, it's not, you know, it's not a sexy thing to work on a marginalized home in, you know, an area that needs support, and that's, you know, we need attention. You know, we don't even actually have to advertise because last year we had 25,000 calls to our number. Now, 100 were probably me calling, but we get calls all the time. So, thank you. Thanks.
When you mentioned property taxes, Director.
Yeah.
How do you assist in that way? You're not paying the taxes, or?
No, well, first of all, we come with, we care, and we're not intimidating, and people are comfortable, and we answer our phone. We're actually one of the only agencies in the city or the county that answer our phone. But, you know, we have the folks come in and they have an extensive application. We work with budgeting. We get them on a payment plan. It can be overwhelming, especially for an older adult. So we will pick up the phone and we'll call the Treasury office if we have to, and try to really have that person-centered conversation. So we actually have a success rate of 95% of keeping people in their houses.
Great. I wanted to follow up on Councilman Schlepper's question about connecting to the constituents. Is there a number? I know you said contact you, and as a councilman, we might contact you. Is there maybe a general number, or
Well, sure.
what is the best way for the constituents to?
Sure, 216
6?
651 0077. And I will say, you know, things don't happen overnight. Like that's you know, we really want to address critical repairs. You know, we're not going to maybe come and unplug your tub because it's stuffed. I mean, we want to make sure you're able, you know, a meaningful repair. And again, sometimes if it's the roof, then we have to address the roof. But we're fortunate to have different funding sources that we can often add to it and layer and do a couple more items than just the one repair in the home. So, but have them call our office. We'll send out an application. They can email it back to us or send everything back, come to our office.
Director, we're here today, obviously, about the funding for District 11. But are you in how many other parts of the county, if not all of the county, are you involved, or are you servicing?
We serve all of Cuyahoga County. Yeah, all of Cuyahoga County. Absolutely.
Are there any questions from committee? Councilwoman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a comment, and thank you so much for being here and doing everything you've been able to accomplish in Richmond Heights, which this funding is directed at because it's a high-level population of seniors in Richmond Heights. Then there was no program at all there, that I understand, and it's huge demand to try to keep seniors in their homes. So we've partnered with the city of Richmond Heights. One of the questions of how do you dive down into your communities that you represent is, I would say, start with the particular city and leadership there to try to formulate a partnership between the city and the organization. And this funding has helped tremendously, and I want to thank you for this. And yeah, I'm really proud to be able to continue on with this program and hope we can expand this.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just a shout out to Roger Carney, who you know, got me in the loop on this early on, and I appreciate him and your work now to carry it on.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Further questions? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
So moved. We move this out of committee for second reading.
I'll second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you, council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Simon is now in attendance. Resolution 2025-0251, amending Resolution Number R 2025-0038, dated February 11th, 2025, which authorized an Emergency Rental Assistance 2 loan and Federal Home Investment Partnership loan to Warner and Swayze LLC or their designee for construction of 140 units of mixed-use, mixed-income, mixed population, historic adaptive reuse of the former Warner and Swayze manufacturing plant located in the city of Cleveland by changing the terms to remove the Federal Home Investment Partnership loan, to amend the language from construction of 140 units to the creation of 112 affordable housing units, by changing the not-to-exceed loan amount from $3,350,000 to $2.9 million, to authorize the use of funds to cover the related costs and acquisition of the former Warner and Swayze manufacturing plant.
Good morning, Sarah Parks Jackson with the Department of Housing and Community Development. This is probably my last meeting before this committee, so thank you all for all your assistance and counsel over the years. This is Warner Swayze again. We received new guidance from Treasury that indicated the emergency rental assistance to funds had to be for a specific activity within a project. So these funds actually expire September 30th, and we have to have funding committed to a project by September 30th. We have until, I believe, January 31st to pay out, but they must be committed. So we had to look at Warner and Swayze and say, what can be done now that would allow them to continue to use the ERA2 funds, meet the requirements of Treasury, and still be of assistance to this project. So that is the amendment you see before you. The $450,000 in home dollars was separated out because it will not be part of the acquisition. So our 2.9 in ERA2 funds is specifically for the acquisition of the property and the related expenses to the acquisition. Again, the home funds, you'll see somewhere else along the line because that can be used for construction. The funding that this body, Councilman Jones, specifically has given to the project, I believe was given directly to the nonprofit corporation and not the project itself. So it's secure. Joe Balbier with the law department and I and Greg Huth have been working almost daily with the legal counsel for Warner Swayze to shore up everything and to make sure that if something goes south, we get our money back. And the Treasury regulations indicate that once we pay out the funding comes back to us, is ours to use, but for the purpose of the original intent. So it's affordable housing or it's emergency rental assistance, but we don't have to send it back to Treasury. So we're asking approval of this amendment. I also have Jeff Mills here with Penrose Development. Jeff, did you want to say a few words?
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Good morning, members of council and staff. Really grateful to be here today to talk about the Warner and Swayze project, a project that is has become really a passion project for all of us here. And I'm joined by, did I say Jeff Mills? I'm sorry, I'm Jeff Mills with Director of Development for Penrose, and I'm joined by Ashley Shaw from Midtown.
Thank you. Thank you, council members, for your time this morning, and Councilman Jones for all of your support over the years on this project. What an honor to be with you, Director, on your last committee meeting, hearing Warner and Swayze Again, I just wanted to recognize Director Parks Jackson as well for all the work that you've put in and your support on this project. Warner Swayze is a project that we've been working on. We're the Community Development Corporation serving this area of Cleveland. We've been working on this project with the City of Cleveland for over 10 years, with our partners from Penrose almost 8 years. This is our #1 priority. We have a lot of priorities as a Community Development Corporation, but it is critical to us that we see this project over the finish line. We're closer than we've ever been. We're aiming for a November closing date this year. This is important to us because it's a legacy building in the city of Cleveland in Cuyahoga County. It's visible to many people who traverse our city every day. Probably not a day goes by that I don't get asked by at least one person what's happening with Warner and Swayze. Which really is telling to me how important this project is to so many different people in our region. But Midtown it's one of Cleveland's largest employment centers. It's also one of Cleveland's fastest growing neighborhoods. We have over 600 units of housing, either in construction or pre-development currently. And about half of those units are in this area, sort of centered around East 55th and Euclid. And so the need to preserve and bring this building back to life is so important because we believe that the vacant sites surrounding this property, which are all in friendly ownership at this point, almost all in friendly ownership, that this project will spur additional investment in the area, but also with the amount of housing that's in the pipeline and more to come, also really critical to us that we're bringing long-term affordability to the neighborhood as well. We've been working on a vision for the area that we're calling Penn Square. That was the historic name of the East 55th and Euclid, which was a dense, vibrant public square years ago. This Penn Square is Warner Swayze to Wilson Tower, and really the investment that we're driving around the public spaces in this area and the improvements is really driven by the opportunity to bring Warner Swayze back to life and the other investment that will spur in the area.
We're happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions from the committee?
Through the chair, did I hear friendly or unfriendly ownership?
Friendly.
Friendly ownership. Okay, can you explain to me exactly what that means?
So there's some vacant sites around this property that are owned by the city of Cleveland. We have an understanding that how they're used today is not the highest and best use, but as they start to see development happening around those sites, there's a conversation to be had about what the future uses of those sites are. We have another partner that owns a handful of sites as well that are vacant that are planned for development.
Thank you. And then just one quick comment through the chair. This particular space, I love that you mentioned the history of Penn Square there. I did a little bit of reading about it, but seeing organizations, for example, the Cleveland Foundation, putting their money where their mouth is and saying, look, we're going to move out of the downtown core and move into a space that we see growth and we see potential, and seeing all of the other entities. And it's kind of this anchor, between downtown and University Circle. I think it's incredibly exciting to see. And as we see those two areas of the city come together to Midtown and Fairfax, this is what we're talking about when we talk about growth in Cleveland. I just think it's incredibly exciting, and thank you for your leadership and your work.
President?
So, good morning, and thanks for your long efforts over all of this time. And my question is whether there's going to be another piece of legislation required to deal with the home funds portion of this.
Council President, I believe we will take the 450,000 home. We'll probably go through Board of Control because of the amount. But we will bring it back forward. It had been committed, but since we needed to separate these funds out, this is what part of this amendment is for, and then we'll bring back the home dollars separately.
Okay. And I just want to say that I have a strong personal connection in that not only did my mother work at Warner and Swayze during World War II, but also my brother worked for them as a college student in the early 70s or so. So it's definitely a good thing to see a positive reuse made of this historic building. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Council President. And I'll say as well, obviously, this is in my district. I'm so thankful to you, Ashley, and to Jeff Epstein going back over the years. It was impactful for me because when we just remember the story, that this building was set for demolition. I don't know if the dollar amount was 3 million or whatever, maybe 3 million. And your team, they said, well, city, if you're gonna spend 3 million anyway, give us the opportunity to put together a package and save it, and you just contribute 3 million to the project. And you've accomplished that. And that was so critical, so important for me, because there's been so much demolition that we've seen, and I've seen on the east side. And if a house was 10, 12,000 for demo, why couldn't that same concept be used? Say, well, if you're gonna spend 12 to demo, why don't find someone who might wanna develop it instead of demolishing it and put together the package. So that's something I've made an effort to try to do as a result of that small part of what you're doing. So again, but I'm happy to see this project move forward. Some, I guess things happen, you lose funding, but I'm glad the administration was able to find those dollars to fill this gap. So with this, and I've already heard you say that November is the closing date?
Yeah, that's what we're working towards, a December 15th closing date right now. Yeah. But the harsh reality is we still have a gap, and we do, and we're working to fill that right now. It's if we were to close today, we'd have a $7 million gap. However, we have a plan that we believe will net us $5 million through a source called the Opportunity Zone Tax Credit. That source is not a source that you can bring in at closing. It's a source that we'd have to bridge to, but we feel pretty confident that we can bridge to the $5 million there. So really what we're talking about is a $2 million gap as we sit here today. And that's real. That's not a little bit of money. So we're working hard every day, but right now we have all of the pieces moving forward towards a December 15th closing in hopes that we find that last chunk.
All right.
All right.
Are there any further questions?
Just to follow up, if I can, Mr. Chair, to the loss of the federal home loan, and can you explain again what happened with that loan?
It's not lost. We had to separate it.
It's
due
just
to the-
separate.
That's
It's
correct.
there.
Yes.
And have we been impacted on this project by any restrictions coming from the top federals about DEI, anything like that?
Not
Would
yet.
that won't filter down into these home loans and rental assistance?
Not yet.
Not yet. Mhm.
Not yet.
Okay.
There's a lot of things brewing. The law department is reviewing all the documentation we receive for various funds to see what the requirements are and whether the administration can sign or not sign. But as it stands right now, the Treasury money for this project is old. So that's why they're just now coming out with, you have to have a specific project. That wasn't the case before. A month before it's time for the funds to expire, we're now getting information, you need to do this, you need to do that. So that's why we did the separate amendment, so that we could clear the acquisition costs for Warner and Swayze, and the home dollars will go toward construction, and we'll just run that through Board of Control.
Okay. Scrambling and creativity. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if we could ask for a second reading under suspension, that would be great.
Yes. I was still pondering Councilwoman Simon's excellent question around the DEI. Again, just to further drill down, this is not something that has impacted your work at all?
It's not impacting this funding.
This funding?
This funding. The funding that we anticipate in the home, the CDBG, and the ESG funds, we've received a letter saying our annual allocation amount. We have not received the contracts that the executive has to sign. Once those come in, they'll go straight to the law department for review, and then we'll know what they say we can and cannot do with those funds. So people all over the country are waiting for that contract to come out to see what's new and what's being left behind. We're concerned at this point, did they leave in the affirmatively furthering fair housing? Because we don't know. And we do fund the housing center for fair housing. I don't know if we'll be able to do that or not, so we'll just have to wait and see what comes down the pike with the contract.
I am just one small voice that cannot speak against an entire federal government. But I would take every opportunity and to continue to repeat myself. DEI is not some aberrant thing outside of the normal conducting of business. It represents the actual normal conducting of business. And I've said it before, tax collection is all of ours. I would describe it as DEI tax collection. It is diverse and it's robust for very demographics who contribute to the tax base. That's the D. It's equitable. We all pay taxes. I pay more than others. There are many more pay far more than I've ever paid. But we all pay our fair equal amount. It's equitable. And inclusion. Everybody is included in tax collection. And if you're not included, then we got a county jail to figure out why you're not doing your part. You check it out from the inside. DEI tax collection demands DEI tax distribution. It demands it. So that's the role of government, to help us govern ourselves accordingly. Simple as that. And DEI as an extension of government is because we've forgotten that everybody's money doesn't belong to one group. It's all of our money. So the federal government doesn't have a right to do what they're doing. Whether they have the power to do it, that's a different thing, and they do. They don't have a right to do it. So with that being said, yes, go right ahead, Council President.
I'd just like to say a word in support of your comments that we live in a very diverse community in Cuyahoga County. We always have, and it's become increasingly so. And you just can't change that fact by executive order. We have a diverse community, and we have a responsibility to serve all the people of this county. So I support your comments.
Thank you. I appreciate your support over the years as well, Council. Are there any other comments or thoughts? All right. If not, I'll make a motion to move this legislation to the full council. Do we need suspension, or is this under second reading?
So please.
Under second reading suspension.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Yep. And we will find time, Ashley, to get together again. Yes, yes. Thank you for all that you're doing in the community. All right. Very well.
Ordinance 2025-0001, amending Section 714.02E of the Cuyahoga County Code to prioritize municipal corporations and townships in Cuyahoga County when evaluating applications to the Cuyahoga County Community Development Supplemental Grant Program.
Is there someone to speak to this item?
I am
Yes,
here to
our
speak.
sponsor, yes.
So as the committee knows, I've been looking at some amendment and change to the supplemental grant program we've had in place for several years because of outcomes that maybe were not originally anticipated when we created this program. So what this does, the two amendments are pretty simple. One is it incorporates an actual obligation of a CDC or a non-municipal corporation to get a letter from the city or the township. This is a practice that has been in use. It's a practice, but it has not been an obligation. So it's been happening, but I think it's prudent for us to make sure that if a CDC or any nonprofit is seeking to obtain grant money from the county, that entity get permission or some kind of approval from the township or corporation first. Township or municipal corporation. That's one. Any questions around that? No? Okay. The second one is scoring. There was different pathways that I explored to accomplish I believe that this money it's really important that this grant money go to the cities or townships because the cities and townships don't have flexibility like a nonprofit does. A nonprofit organization can fundraise, it can get matching grants, it can do all kinds of things flexibility-wise to bring in money to that entity. However, cities and townships, they're restricted, and they're restricted by a lot of different levels of restrictions, including federal, like we just heard from our previous presenter, of all the restrictions around receiving grants. This money is supposed to be flexible, and it provides one avenue for a city or a township to have $50,000 to really just do what they need to do without the restrictions of no DEI or get it done by, all of these things go away, and it's the one place the city has to do that. So I thought it was really important that the cities and townships are prioritized when scoring happens. Anybody can apply for this grant. It doesn't take away a CDC or a nonprofit from applying, but if there is a tied score, that when the scorers find that they would prioritize the township or the municipal corporation in that event. That's all this does, is look at the scoring and also mandate and provide this obligation of the non-municipal corporation to get permission or some approval letter from the city.
Okay, I will go first. Oh, did you have a comment?
I just want to say I support this legislation.
So I'll have my comment. The way I saw this initially, when this legislation or this CDSG dollars have always been for the communities, the cities and the necessary projects that they have. I think, I don't know, it was 6 months ago, we had one presentation of one where it seemed like there was a project sponsored by a sorority, and on the surface, it appeared as if that didn't fit in with what these dollars were earmarked for, and that was my interpretation of how this came before us. But what I thought was a negative impact was that there are nonprofits who represent a large city of Cleveland. City of Cleveland doesn't apply directly for the smaller projects. They are the nonprofits within the city of Cleveland that do the applying. So I didn't want to I want to make sure we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. I am here to protect the nonprofits that are in my district that apply on behalf of cities and in conjunction, or however you want to word it, make sure that they are not limited in any way in their ability to access these rightful dollars as well. So I've seen this evolution, this legislation kind of evolve. So now it is, as I understand it now, a letter from the host city is required, but it's my understanding that has always been in place. The second is if there is a tie between a nonprofit, and when I say nonprofit, I'm thinking of one of my community development nonprofits that, again, represent the city that would get host letters. If there's a tie between a nonprofit and another city, my nonprofit could lose out. So for me, that is a concern. So based on everything I just said, one, I'd like the director to come in and let me know if I'm in error on any of these points, and if I'm correct in my assessment.
Mr. Chair, I think I will chime in.
please,
The
go
letter
ahead.
has never been legislatively an obligation. I want to correct you. This has never been part of our legislation that there must be a letter.
Understanding though, although I
It's been
know
a
it's not
practice,
legislatively, but
No,
it is a
Mr. Chair, it's
policy.
been a practice, and any newcomer coming to the county in 5-10 years, there's no obligation of the new director to do that. I think it's incumbent, so you're incorrect that this has always been the case. It's a practice that they put in place. This is an obligation now, which I think as prudent council people, we better make sure that what our intention is that it's carried out, number one. But I'll let the director tell me if I'm wrong, that this has been a practice. It's not been our legislation.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I hear you.
Sarah Parks Jackson, Department of Housing and Community Development. As a part of the application process, it is a requirement. It was not in your original legislation for this program, but there were a lot of things that were kind of handed off to the department to make the determination as to how we were going to administer the program on behalf of council. On all of our applications, getting the support of the political subdivision is a requirement.
So you're saying a nonprofit has always gotten letters
Yes.
from their city when
They are
we've done this?
required to do so. Councilman, if we do not have the letter of support, that application is now void because it is a requirement for us as a part of the review, and it's actually part of the initial eligibility, is that they go to the city. We have gotten letters from council people and have told applicants that's not acceptable. It has to come from the highest elected official in the municipality where they are located, except for in the city of Cleveland. We will accept a letter from the community development director, just because it was hard at one point to get the letters specifically from the mayor. So we got them from the CD director. All the other 58 communities were required to get a letter from,
City of Cleveland did not always submit. You were allowing the executive director of the CDC to provide that letter.
no, actually, we were requesting that it come from the director of the Department of Community Development for the city of Cleveland.
Oh, to the City of Cleveland.
For the nonprofits that, for whatever reason, time delay, could not get the letter directly from the mayor's office. The city of Cleveland applicants were allowed to get one from the director of the Department of Community Development for the city of Cleveland.
Oh, the City of Cleveland Department, okay. So that was not an issue. It's hard to get the mayor to sign, but his community director can sign on his behalf representing the whole city.
Definitely, because the community development director should know all of the activities that are going on. That person also has the opportunity to talk to staff and verify that the activity being proposed by the nonprofit is in fact a community development activity. And one, they also check with their council people to make sure that this is a project they want to see move forward.
So that would not impair, or does that impair in any way that CDC's opportunity to bid on the monies by having to go to the community development director?
No, sir. They have always been able to get the letter from the community development director at the city of Cleveland. The past couple of years, we've actually managed to get them from the mayor. But either or for the city of Cleveland, all other 58 communities and the CDCs, the CDCs have to get it from the mayor. So if they're working in Richmond Heights or Bedford Heights or Maple Heights, it has to come from the mayor.
So this portion of the legislation doesn't negatively impact the work. It codifies what you're already doing.
That's correct.
Okay. The second piece was in the event of a tie between a community, a nonprofit and a host city's application, if there's a tie, then the nonprofit would lose out and the host city would win in the event of a tie. So if I find my CDC in direct competition with someone in South Euclid or in Pepper Pike or something, then this one automatically loses. Speak to that.
Our practice has been when the applications are scored, they're given a number, then from 100 down is how we allocate the funds until we run out of money. So in the instance where, say, a city and a nonprofit both got 80, as long as we had the funding, we would fund both. If we didn't have all of the funding, we search for it to see if there's a way that we could fill both, because it's difficult to tell one applicant, well, you got 80, the other applicant, you got 80. Well, we ran out of money, so we can't fund you. So the practice has been to attempt to find, and normally we can, we go digging for change to be able to fund both. But that's the practice. We go by whatever the score is. until we have no money left. If there is in fact a tie, at the end, we try to find the funds. We've had applications where we've had 3 or 4 that had the same score, and we funded all.
So what I'm hearing you say, Sarah, is if someone scores sufficiently to be in the winning category, you don't try to divide them and say you win and you don't. You look to fund everyone, even if you have to fund monies elsewhere.
That's how we do this program as well as the Muni Grant Program. We start at 100, which is the highest number of points you can get, and we go down, 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 down until it's like, okay, we're out of money, so we have to stop right here.
So this portion of the legislation presented would actually force you to not even do that. You would have to divide, you would have to choose one of the cities as opposed to your normal practice of funding everyone.
It would provide a challenge for us to prioritize where, from a staffing standpoint, I would recommend that staff come back and talk to council staff and find out specifically how we are supposed to do that. We are acting on behalf of this council, so I wouldn't even recommend staff even think about how we would prioritize it. It would be having conversation with county staff, council staff, to say, this is what we think the legislative intent was, and this is what we think you should do to prioritize.
Well, I get that. The administration job is to try to overcome every hurdle and do what you can to do what you need to do. This is a hurdle that I can't accept. I can't accept that my district would be legislatively knocked out in a tie, whereas a Westlake or Pepper Pike or South Euclid would win against one in my district. I can't accept that.
Mr. Chair, it's unfortunate you wouldn't accept it because you have communities that desperately need funding. And I'm going to invite in Garfield Heights. I'm going to invite in all your districts other than the small sliver of Cleveland you have that you seem so desperate to want to protect at the expense of every other of the 59 communities. That is not something that I don't think your communities want to hear. I will be happy to talk to them. And I think you're very confused by nonprofits versus CDCs. So you have a small, tiny sliver of Cleveland that gets tons of dollars. They have their own CDBG money. They have tons of ARPA money. And you are going to sit here today and deny all these other communities, of which you represent, by the way, of an opportunity to get a small amount of funding to enable their city or township to provide something to the community to help residents stay there. I want to challenge you right now, Mr. Chair. What's the difference between a CDC and a nonprofit?
So Councilwoman, I know how to represent my district. I have no concerns or no issues on my ability to represent my own district. I don't necessarily need you to talk to my district about.
Well, you keep talking
what
about
I'm
Cleveland. That's all
doing.
you talk about. And
I'm
you keep
talking
talking
because
about
that is-
Cleveland, 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 and your CDC and your nonprofit. You know what? This isn't about South Euclid because South Euclid has a CDC. So let's not throw that out there. They have a CDC, and the city should take priority over a CDC, and they know that. This is a practice.
So Councilwoman, again, what the administration is saying is they serve everyone. This piece of legislation creates a division where they have to choose over one community
That's the
over
point of the
another.
legislation, Mr. Chair. No, what I heard the director say, sir, is that she is trying to carry out the intent of council. And I'm going to go back historically, that this legislation had nothing to do with CDCs. This only was for townships and for cities. And it's because Anthony Hairston pounded the fist and wanted this to go to a CDC that we acquiesced. But what's happened here is it's not CDCs, it's sororities, it's other nonprofits that have very little to do with what the original intent of this council is. I wanted to enlighten you about that. So you sit here today and trying to block something, so your small sliver of Cleveland can somehow be, you know, whatever you want to do. We have another vote on this committee.
All right. Go right ahead, Council President.
So I have 3 comments, and the first is that I would like if I could ask Mike King a question.
Thank you, Michael King, council staff.
Yes. My question, Mr. Chairman, to Mike is in your, would it be your interpretation that the provision in the substitute regarding the tide scoring would not adversely affect the department's ability, if there's a tie score, to try to fund all of the agencies that are, all of the applicants that are tied? That it would only require that if they only have money to fund some of the ones that are tied, that then the prioritization language defines what happens.
To the councilman through the chair, I think that's probably correct. The language just specifically, so that everybody's on the same page, is it says, in the event the scoring of applications results in a tie, the department shall prioritize applications received from municipal corporations and townships within Cuyahoga County ahead of not-for-profit community development corporations. So what that means essentially is, you know, in the vast majority, and the director can speak to this, I think, more from her experience, the vast majority of cases, most applicants who apply get the maximum $50,000 award. But depending on the year and the number of applicants that were received, there are going to be edge cases where some applicants either aren't ready, or you know, the county has limited resources and can't award funding to everybody. My interpretation of this is that it would not limit the department, and at least in terms of making a recommendation, from saying we want to make awards less than the maximum amount, right, to additional applicants. But in the event there is a scoring tie, right, where two applications are score exactly equally, that municipalities will be prioritized, however that's interpreted. Either it could be considered a tie-breaking vote, right? If we have to make a decision to fund one and not another. Obviously, there's going to be case-by-case situations where some applicants who apply will say we need all or nothing. Others will say we can make do with less. And so I think in a given application round, there's going to need to be some flexibility for the department to make some of those judgment calls in submitting recommendations to council. And of course, council can always, at the end of the day, make the call as to whether or not to fund based on those recommendations. But what this would require, that if there is a tie and it comes down to we're funding one project or another, this would require that a municipality be prioritized in that situation.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, to the committee, I have two recommendations, and the first one is that it's my understanding that the department intends to begin this year's CDSG process sometime during the council's summer recess. And when they begin that process, they would want to incorporate any changes that are made into the instructions. And so my recommendation is that if the committee moves forward with the legislation, that I would recommend that you depart from the usual practice that ordinances have to receive 3 readings, and that you recommend it for second reading suspension. So that's one recommendation. The second recommendation that I have is a minor change along the lines of which the director was talking about. I spoke to Ryan Puente at the City of Cleveland, and he said that under normal circumstances, they have the capability to review and get letters of support out within 48 hours. But but if the mayor is out of town, then there could be a delay, and if a request comes in late, it could be a problem. And so the suggestion I have is simply after the chief officer of a municipal corporation, township, the chief executive officer of a municipal corporation, township, just to add the words, or his or her designee, to allow what the director was talking about, where they could accept the letter from the community development director. So I would suggest that, and if anybody on the committee agrees, they could request an amendment to that effect. Thank you.
Pat?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with what the council president just said. That would be okay with me, that particular change. However, the conversation that went on prior to this made it sound like the cities in my district aren't important. And my cities are part of the 59 communities that are in Cuyahoga County. And I took offense to that. Just wanted to put that on record.
I didn't mean to offend. What I meant to say was that when I called the cities by name, Westlake or my own CDC, Burton Bell Carr, if the two come in opposition, my understanding of this legislation is my CDC cannot win legislatively against any other city, even if it's one I represent. That's what I meant. And what I heard from the administration is their practice is to award both. That's what I support. I support what the administration has done. I want Westlake and Garfield and South Euclid and everyone to do what they've already been doing. I want them all to win. So I did not mean to offend. That was not my intention. It's hard when you're speaking to make sure your words are right all the time. But it was never my intention to offend any of the communities. My goal is for every community to do what the administration is already doing, receive their funding. I take offense, and I don't want to say that. I understand. I represent my city, all my cities, and when one of them has been put in a position where legislatively they cannot win, how can I support that? That's all I meant.
Well, listen, I have to just say that was offensive because you threw out South Euclid, but it's your cities you actually represent. It's not your CDC. You don't have one. I don't think you're on the board of your Burton Bell Carr, and nor am I on the board of the South Euclid one. That's a CDC. There's a difference between a city and a CDC. And what you're doing is jeopardizing, for example, you are allowing an outcome to which nobody wanted, to give to a non-CDC nonprofit on top of, in front of City of Cleveland Heights. Doesn't matter to you because you don't represent them. Village of Bracknell doesn't matter to you because you don't represent them. And the City of Shaker Heights, and it doesn't matter to you because you don't represent them. And what we're doing is 3 of those cities were left behind for a non-CDC nonprofit. There's a distinguishment between a CDC to which you refer and another nonprofit. And what's happening here is our money that's limited for our cities is going to places that no one intended. And this is a way to resolve that. Now, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. Vote no. It's fine. You can protect your couple CDCs over your cities. What other cities do you have? I know you have Garfield Heights. I'm sure the mayor would be appalled that you would say that any nonprofit can take precedence over the city of Garfield that's struggling. So, I think if you brought in the mayors, they would agree. But this doesn't penalize a legitimate CDC from getting funding. That's not what this does.
So, Sonny, you actually said something else that made me think in another way. You asked, it may have been a rhetorical question, but you said, what's the difference between a CDC and a nonprofit? I get why we came here when we saw a nonprofit that on the surface didn't appear in the vein of all of the other municipal help we've done. But again, when I say my CDC, and I do say my CDC, like I say my cities, because my CDCs do the community work that the city of Cleveland proper is not, not dealing with in the weeds, so to speak. So the CDCs to me are an extension of the city. Burton Bell Carr, Fairfax, all the others across my district and across the city of Cleveland itself. Is there a distinction between a CDC and a nonprofit? And could we craft language that spoke to parsing out those nonprofits, but again, protecting the CDCs so that they can continue to do the work that every other great community in this county is doing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, we've been talking about this. That's why I asked you rhetorically, because you keep talking about CDCs, but this doesn't differentiate because go ahead.
Yeah, to the chair, I mean, I think this question, I think, has been the core, even since the inception of this legislation, about legally what is a CDC? And legally, there's no clear, bright line that can be drawn to distinguish what I think most of us would consider to be a local CDC and a 501c3 nonprofit. The way we've operationalized that, the legislation uses the term Community Development Corporation. The way it's been operationalized by the department in consultation with council has been if a nonprofit organization has community development somewhere in their mission statement, right? Because when you file for 501c3 status or nonprofit status, you have to provide a mission statement saying that you're operating for a charitable or public purpose. If you include in that mission statement something related to community development, that would be enough to establish yourself as a community development corporation for the purposes of this program. That's how we've been operating to date, and there have been ideas thrown around about ways we could tighten that definition, but a lot of those ideas have been sort of critiqued, I guess, for being too restrictive in certain respects. And so that's been an ongoing conversation that has been a challenge to address. This I think is meant to try and clarify that to some extent, but at the end of the day, it's not something that can be. We can just draw a bright line and say these are authorized CDCs and these are nonprofits that aren't recognized. We did include initially in the legislation a requirement that the entity be in existence for at least 2 years, so that you don't have sort of fly-by-night nonprofits popping up and claiming to be CDCs and applying for funding. Like, you want to have some type of track record before you can apply. But that. Still, I mean, it doesn't necessarily limit who can apply, as long as they have in their mission statement something related to community development.
So, Mike, I could actually say the names of like the CDCs that are doing the work of the city. I don't go into the mayor of Cleveland's office and talk about $150,000 playground project. You know what I mean? I go into the CDC that does that city's work in that way. There's got to be a distinguishing factor amongst the ones that do the work of this whole city, that we can kind of carve it out. So the fact that they get funding, maybe if they're getting the CDCs that I represent, or that are stakeholders in my district, a better way of putting it, they all get funding through their councilmen. I'm just trying to figure out a way to word it in such a way that they stand on the same level as they always have. There's never been a problem when Fairfax or Burton Bell Carr or Huff or anyone else received CDC money. So I just want to carve out a way of maintaining their rightful status within the sphere of all the other host cities.
Well, there's never been a problem, then why are you so concerned? They seem to know what they're doing when they apply. But when you've got, it's not just a sorority. We had towards employment, I think. There were some questionable things about that, was it? About signage? I'm sorry, I might have the wrong recipient, but that was absurd that City of Shaker Heights took a second seat to that. It's not just about a sorority, but the fact that it even came to that is indication that this has gone awry. And if the CDCs are so concerned about, have never had a problem, then why are you sitting here? I mean, they know what they're doing, they've been established, they apply and they score well. But I'm talking about these other consequential organizations that we end up depriving cities of money. It's not right. It is not right. And we have another member of this committee. I'd like this to be amended and moved out of committee so the full council can discuss it. I mean, we could be here all day trying to do what you want to do, but we have another member of the committee. I'd like this to move out. We can amend it as suggested by the president and then take it to the full council because time is of the essence and we have another round of funding that is at risk of being lost again to a fraternity.
So the council president's recommendation, and I'd like to hear from Sarah as well, both of you. How does that, again, protect the CDC's status? Because what I'm still hearing, and I get the picture, I get it. This money was created for municipalities, so I still stand with that. But again, the CDCs are a part of that. They are the representatives of the CDC in a bigger city. Cleveland's the biggest city in this county. So you can't expect the mayor of, I don't even say a city, a smaller city, to go right ahead.
Mr. Chairman, the majority of the suburban communities do not have the term CDC, which I believe emanated from the city of Cleveland.
Right.
There are Lakewood, Shaker Heights, and a few other, Euclid and South Euclid, that have these nonprofit organizations that we call CDCs, that administer things just like the city of Cleveland ones do on behalf of the city. The other nonprofit organizations, all of them, indicate in their filings that they provide a community development assistance to the county, a particular city, or whatever it is that it's structured around. So, and I came up to Mike and said, like, what about Land Bank Charities, Cleveland Neighborhood Progress? Because I'm just trying to understand how I'm going to relay to staff how we are going to rewrite this application based on, is the land bank considered a nonprofit entity? Because they do have a nonprofit arm, but is the land bank itself a nonprofit which has a nonprofit arm, and who can we, whose application do we say no to? Cleveland Neighborhood Progress. I'm looking at the list from last year. We had the Cleveland Cultural Gardens Federation. So from a staffing standpoint, we just need to understand who we can take an application from and who we cannot.
Well, Director, you've been taking applications from everybody.
As long as they are a 501c3 organization that has community development in their mission and that they've been in existence for more than 2 years.
Right. No one's denied the opportunity to apply.
Councilman Schlepper.
I just had a question through the chair, and perhaps I'm directing this to my council colleague, Simon. I'm in agreement with your trajectory, Councilwoman. I just have more of an administrative question. Do we foresee there being any types of concerns administratively with this? For example, there could be some CDCs that perhaps have an adversarial relationship with a city or a municipality or something like that. Or perhaps city leadership or a mayor or in townships, trustees that say, look, no matter what, we're never going to approve any type of application. Would that be something that could be a problem in the future for CDCs? I know the scoring apparatus exists, to apply priority to something. I'm more curious about the administrative tenets. If you have an adversarial mayor or council that says, we actually don't like that particular organization, so we're never going to apply an application. Could that potentially be a problem in the future.
If we don't have that letter, it's not scored. That's part of the requirement. So it protects all bodies concerned so that you, as the county council person, don't have a city coming to you saying, I didn't like that project. I didn't support that project. Now, the mayor might sign off on it, but the council person doesn't. We're not in that. So it's the highest elected official provides that letter of support. If we don't have that letter of support, the application isn't eligible.
So I'm going to make a motion to amend the legislation to add the language that, the designee language. Madam Clerk, let me find it.
If I could make one technical amendment to the amendment, I would recommend, and obviously it's up to the committee, I would recommend adding that language after the portion of the sentence that says, provide a letter from the chief executive officer.
Page 2.
Yes, we're on page 2. Provide a letter from the chief executive officer, and then I would add a comma. And I would say, or his or her designee, comma, of a municipal corporation, township, or county land reutilization corporation.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
Probably moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Okay. But again, I still come to that point, there will come a moment when there's a tie between a CDC in my district and any other host city. That tie is decided legislatively that my city does not get to win. And am I correct in that?
Your city or your CDC?
The CDC, who represents the city. Mayor Bibb is not going to come down and participate in every $150,000 project.
Yes, I think that there is a hypothetical scenario, and I think the director would probably agree, these are edge cases, right? Because we're talking about lists of 30 applicants, and we're talking about the 30th and the 31st applicants who maybe tie. And in certain years where in that event, a city would be selected over a CDC. That is a possibility.
Mr. Chair, this is a remote scenario. It's a hypothetical, but on the other hand, we've seen over the years what actually is happening. You're concerned about a hypothetical. I'm concerned about what's happening in the tax dollars going to sororities. This isn't the intent of this. This isn't ARPA dollars, and you're worried about a hypothetical that probably is not going to occur, and if it does, then we'll deal with it if we choose to. But, the city of Cleveland has tons of money. The city of Cleveland, I'm not worried about established CDCs coming in, applying because they know what they're doing. There's high scores. Some of the cities that applied, one of them was not well scored, so it wouldn't have even been a tie.
Well, one, City of Cleveland doesn't have tons of money that doesn't go with their tons of challenges as well.
Well, we certainly,
but
as a community, we have very little money going to our communities. This is the only program that provides flexibility to a city. The CDCs to which you refer have the ability to fundraise, and I guarantee they do. You probably give money. They have other ways to get money. Cities cannot solicit donations for things. That's the difference here, and either you can't see it or don't, it doesn't matter. But the money is intended to give flexibilities to communities that don't otherwise have it. CDCs have all kinds of funding opportunities outside of the restrictions set forth by grants from government entities. So this is one way we can help our cities. One way, one small way to make a difference.
Mr. Chairman, would I be out of line to say that now we've amended this, that we take a vote about moving this forward?
We certainly will move it forward.
Mr. President, Mr.
I
Chairman.
certainly won't be, I won't certainly say my piece, but we will certainly move legislation forward. Yes.
Just a procedural suggestion that what we did was we made the technical amendment to the substitute. But we have not yet accepted the substitute into the legislation. So the next step that would make sense would be to make a motion that we accept the substitute with the designee amendment and make that the version that's in front of the committee. And then it would be a separate motion to move it out.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion to incorporate, or accept the substitute with the incorporated technical amendment.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
And then I'm going to make a motion,
Go
if
right
we
ahead.
can, Mr. Chair, to move this out of committee for second reading suspension.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded, and if you would take a roll call, Sharon?
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Schlepper,
Yes.
Ms. Simon,
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
No.
With a vote of 3 ayes and 1 nay, the motion carries.
Thank you. All right. All right, at this time, is there any miscellaneous business? If not, if nothing else holds our attention, this meeting is now adjourned.